The Horrors of Unit 731, Japan's Secret World War II Atrocity. During World War II, while much of the world was focused on Nazi Germany's atrocities in Europe, a far more secretive and equally horrifying program was operating in the East. Deep within Japanese-occupied Manchuria, the Japanese Imperial Army was running a covert biological and chemical warfare research facility known as Unit 731. To this day, its activities remain some of the most disturbing war crimes ever committed. Unit 731 was established in 1936 under the command of General Shiro Ishii, a military physician with a twisted vision. He believed that Japan could achieve military dominance through the development of biological weapons, and that the best way to test them was on live human subjects. Officially called the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, the unit's true purpose was hidden under layers of deception. The facility was located near the city of Harbin in northeast China and employed over 3,000 Japanese personnel. Victims, referred to as logs to dehumanize them, included Chinese civilians, Korean prisoners, Russian captives, and even Allied POWs. The experiments conducted were beyond cruel. Victims were deliberately infected with plague, cholera, anthrax, typhus, and other deadly pathogens, just to observe how fast the diseases would progress. Prisoners were taken outside in freezing temperatures until their limbs froze solid. Then the limbs were thawed in hot water to study the effects of tissue damage. Victims were tied to stakes and used for grenade and flamethrower practice to analyze the most effective killing methods. Female prisoners were raped and impregnated so researchers could test disease transmission from mother to child. Surgeries were often performed on people with no anesthesia. These surgeries were conducted to study organ failure and effects of trauma. The unit developed ceramic bombs filled with plague-infected fleas, which were dropped over Chinese towns, leading to widespread outbreaks. They also poisoned water supplies and released infected rats into urban populations. In one horrific operation, the unit spread typhoid and dysentery into village wells, killing hundreds. The goal of Unit 731 wasn't just data collection, it was to weaponize disease. Despite the scale and brutality of these crimes, most of those responsible never faced justice. At the end of World War II, the U.S. government quietly granted immunity to many of Unit 731's doctors and scientists, including Shiro Ishii himself, in exchange for their research data. The same as the U.S. deal with Nazi scientists in Operation Paperclip. The logic was simple. The U.S. wanted an edge in the Cold War, and the gruesome data from Unit 731 was seen as too valuable to ignore. As a result, much of the unit's leadership returned to normal lives. Some even became professors, doctors, and politicians in post-war Japan. The full extent of their crimes remained classified or denied for decades. Estimates suggest that over 300,000 people may have died as a result of Unit 731's experiments and the deployment of their weapons. Japan did not officially acknowledge Unit 731's existence until the 1990s, and public education about the topic is still limited within the country. Textbooks often omit or gloss over the events, and many survivors say their trauma has been erased from the national narrative. In China, however, the memory of Unit 731 remains raw. There is a museum on the original site of the facility in Harbin, where visitors can see the chilling remnants, the dissection tables, the cells, and the instruments of torture. Survivors and their families continue to speak out, demanding that the world never forget what happened. Some former members of Unit 731, racked by guilt in later years, gave testimonies about what they had done. They described the screams of the victims, the smell of death, and the emotional numbness they adopted to carry out their orders. Their confessions added grim confirmation to what survivors had long been saying. The legacy of Unit 731 is not just a dark chapter in Japanese history. It is a stark reminder of what happens when science is twisted by ideology, racism, and militarism. The victims were not just numbers. They were human beings, subjected to unimaginable cruelty in the name of experimentation. These atrocities were carried out not by fringe madmen, but by educated doctors, researchers, and military leaders who saw human life as disposable. And perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: much of what we know today about biological warfare began with the crimes committed in Unit 731. Remembering these atrocities isn't about assigning blame to generations long gone. It is about acknowledging the past, honoring the victims, and ensuring that the horrors of Unit 731 are never repeated in any form. Because history, when ignored, has a terrible way of repeating itself.